The paintwork of the body is quite thin and soft, which makes it poorly resistant to mechanical damage. The fastest scratches and chips appear on the hood, seals, edges of the wings and the wheel arches. Another cause for concern is intumescent paint of the trunk lid, rear doors, arches and windshield pillars. For cars with basic color shades, the paintwork on the bumpers does not differ in reliability, it will peel off. Chrome plate exterior parts are also considered quite problematic, which painfully endure winter operation. They become cloudy and begin to peel off. With the corrosion resistance of external body panels, there are no significant problems yet because the parts are galvanized and the age of most specimens is small. But nevertheless, you can find small pockets of rust. Most quickly, mushrooms appear at the junction of the roof with the windshield, the trunk lid, in the license plate niche and at the attachment points of the handles. The bottom of the car is also well protected from corrosion, however, surface rust can appear on the front bumper beam, spars and behind the front lockers without additional protection. In cars restored after an accident, there may be problems with the tightness of the seams and their resistance to corrosion, especially in the front of the car. Many owners of KIA Cerato II call the presence of extraneous sounds from under the windshield. As a rule, the culprit of this trouble is the lining of the overhead niche. To solve the problem, the installation of a rubber seal is required. Weaknesses include door locks, in which the larvae turn sour. In the presence of an ailment, the lock stops opening with a key. Do not differ in survivability and limiters of the opening angle of the doors. Nylon crackers quickly give up. Like many budget cars, during temperature changes, moisture can appear in the headlights and the protective plastic can become cracked. In the CIS countries, KIA Cerato II was presented with two atmospheric gasoline engines, 1.6, 125 horsepower and 2.0, 150 horsepower. In Europe and America, cars with petrol 1.6, GDI 140 horsepower, 2.4, 176 horsepower and diesel 1.6, 128 horsepower were offered. Among the general shortcomings of gasoline units, one can single out rather weak supports, a small catalyst resource 120–150,000 kilometers, and not the best performance of the electrics in the engine compartment, poor sealing of the connectors. The generator begins do not differ in reliability either. Cars operated in harsh climates often have difficulty starting the engine and starter, or rent after 60–100,000 kilometers. On the same run, problems with the thermostat and pump are possible. One of the most problematic places of the stock motor 1.6 G4FC and G4FG is the timing drive, in which after 120,000 kilometers you need to monitor the condition of the chain and tensioner. The main causes of early failure of the timing mechanism parts are overheating, low oil levels, late maintenance, short trips and poor condition of the crankcase ventilation system. For cars with a mileage of over 150,000 kilometers, there is a high probability of scoring in the piston group. This ailment, as a rule, is caused by an untimely replacement of the catalyst, it dusts and cylinders when destroyed, and the occurrence of piston rings, caused by long oil change intervals 15,000 km or more. On a car with high mileage, a progressive oil burner can be observed, caused by the poor condition of the valve stem seals and rings. Of the less significant troubles, one can note the increased noise of the unit, the unreliability of the valve cover gasket serves 50–100,000 km, and the auxiliary drive belt. Engine with a volume of 2.0 G4KD and 2.4 G4KE are an enlarged copy of the 1.6 engine with the same ailment and shortcomings. In a 2-liter unit, in addition to all of the above, an insufficiently productive oil pump can be distinguished, due to which scuffing can form on the crankshaft. The 1.6 diesel unit migrated here from the previous version of KIA Cerato, the shortcomings of which I have already talked about earlier. On the pre-styling versions of the KIA Cerato II, a 5-speed manual and 4-speed automatic were used. After updating in 2010, they were replaced by a 6-speed manual transmission and automatic transmission. The reliability of the 5-step largely depends on the engine power and operating conditions, but one way or another, you should not count on the long-term operation of the mechanical part of the transmission. Gear bearings, synchronizer couplings and gear rims wear out quickly. The third generation retainer ring is not reliable either. For cars with a mileage of more than 100,000 km, the box begins to bother with oil seal leaks, extraneous noise, vibrations and crunching. In advanced cases, there may be problems with the differential, which are fraught with damage to the gearbox housing. The 6-step turned out to be more reliable, but often suffers from leaks in the input shaft seal. Oil may also ooze from the drive. The clutch in both boxes, as a rule, can withstand 120–150,000 km. But the release bearing on this machine often makes itself felt earlier. During operation, it makes extraneous sounds, whistling and squeaking. The 4-speed automatic A4CF2, against the background of mechanics, looks extremely reliable, and its mechanical part, with proper maintenance every 40,000 km, can last 300–400,000 km. The first automatic transmission repair is required after 150–100,000 km. On this run, as a rule, valve body solenoids, gas turbine engine block and lining, and speed sensors are surrendered. Tightening with maintenance and elimination of minor breakdowns is fraught with accelerated wear of the splines of the direct drums, the thrust bearing of the overdrive drum, the brake band, bushing and the planetary gear set. Of the weak points of the machine, one can only note the unreliability of the oil seals, the leakage of which can lead to a decrease in the oil level in the gearbox and a failure of the oil pump. The 6-speed automatic A6GF1 turned out to be less reliable than the 4-speed. The unreliability of this automatic transmission is due to the high cost operation temperature and the aggressive setting of the control system. The first repair of the box is needed after the first 100,000 km. Most quickly, due to overheating, the speed sensors burn, the wiring becomes unusable, the friction clutches that pull the solenoid and the valve body wear out. When operating a car outside the city, a pallet made of plastic is quickly rented out. For those who like to light up at traffic lights, clutches and a torque converter do not last long. With untimely maintenance, friction clutches, Teflon rings and an oil pump wear out more intensively than usual. Gaskets, seals and bushings need to be replaced closer to 150,000 kilometers. In addition, the box is afraid of prolonged slippage, breaks the differential splines. KIA Cerato II has an unusual suspension architecture for this model, McPherson strut in front, beam in the back. As for the reliability of the chassis, here, in addition to the stabilizer struts, they serve 15–30,000 kilometers. It is worth noting the wheel bearings, which painfully endure the installation of large diameter rollers. With standard discs, bearings are enough for 100–150,000 kilometers. The shock absorber boot, which comes off the seat and knocks while driving, is not reliable either. After installation in place, the anther must be fixed with clamps. The CV joint boot is also not of the best quality, it becomes covered with cracks over time, the leakage of which negatively affects the hinge resource. In regions with poor road surfaces, it is often necessary to change the front shock absorbers, silent blocks of levers, thrust bearings and ball joints. In cities with good roads, these parts can withstand about 150,000 kilometers. The rear suspension, if you do not kill it purposefully, does 200–150,000 kilometers without repair. The weak points here can only be attributed to the springs, which painfully endures a strong load. If overloaded, the coils sag and break off. In the steering, a rack and pinion mechanism with power steering is used, which in our realities begins to make extraneous sounds after 100,000 km of run, the rack sleeve breaks. Fortunately, this unit is repairable. Tie rod ends may need to be replaced after 70,000 kilometers, but the tie rods can last up to 150,000 kilometers. The main complaints about the brake system are caused by the tendency of its elements to corrosion. Since the guides of the rear calipers cannot be lubricated and there swells, they have to be changed every 4–6 years. Brake pads are enough for 40–60,000 kilometers. Discs usually nurse twice as long. Selling KIA Cerato II is made of simple finishing materials that do not resist aging well. Steering wheel braid is usually the first to be surrendered, which, without additional protection, begins to climb after 60,000 kilometers of run. Quite quickly, the fabric upholstery of the seats also loses its original appearance, but the combined and leather trim resist wear well. Much more problems are caused by the sled of the front seats, on which corrosion appears over time, preventing their normal operation. There are problems with the soundproofing of the cabin, which are exacerbated by the presence of crickets. Most often, extraneous sounds are emitted by door seals, a bar at the windshield, a dashboard, a central tunnel, a ceiling lamp for interior lighting, and a driver's airbag. Of the minuses of selling equipment, it is worth highlighting the unreliability of the power window button block on the driver's door and the left steering column lever. Over time, the central locking and audio system may begin to fail. In the interior ventilation system, the bearings of the air conditioning compressor and the damper drive are most often let down, lubrication of the lever guide is required. But the heater motor often withstands more than 200,000 kilometers. For cars of the first years of production, there may be problems with the wiring located in the corrugation of the driver's door and above the left wheel. Selling KIA Cerato II. KIA Cerato II, despite all its inherent shortcomings, is a rather interesting option for a second-hand purchase. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will